do you think you're most known for? Your acting, your music, or the controversy that surrounds you?
My big mouth. My big mouth. I got a big mouth. Can't help it. I talk from my heart. I'm real. You know what I'm saying? Whatever comes, comes. But my controversy problem, and it's not my fault. I'm trying to find my way in the world. You know, I'm trying to be somebody instead of just make money off everybody. You know what I'm saying? And so I go down paths that haven't been traveled before, and I usually mess up. But I learn, you know what I'm saying? I come back stronger. You know, I'm not talking ignorant, you know what I'm saying? So I obviously put thought into what I do. So I think my mouth, my controversy. I have not been.
What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journals, Comics, and Pop Culture. Just had to drop a little drool again. My dude, I never speak lightly enough of the man that saved my life. So many parallels. I'm not just trying to fake the funk, but the parallels are there. And those words mean a lot to me right now in my situation and what I'm doing as Journals Comics and what I'm here for. And I can't help it. I speak from my heart, and that's what I'm here to do today, because that's what I always do. And you guys are here for hopefully one reason, and that's to be a part of this, to support. And let's just keep it moving. So we got some announcements today. We're going to have some special guests as well. I want to say what's up to the chat. Tony. What's going on, Tony? Alfonso, X11. We got Simon, Peter, Patrick, Don Dizzle. Who else we got hanging out? Blackout is here. What's going on, Blackout? Lithograph. What's up? What's up? Viper Guts. Viper GTS. Good to see you. It's been a minute. Remy, what's up? Remy, Live Loot. An old rapper that's been dead for over 25 years and is still more relevant than 99.9% of these rappers today. BBB. What's going on, BBB? Ryan, that is what's up. Ash. Yeah, we're going to talk about that briefly, Ash. All right. We got my stands in the house. Appreciate you to the stands. You guys are everything to me. Everything to me. To all my stands. Appreciate you. Stands that create so many multiple accounts because they want to be here so bad. Tyler, what's up, Tyler? Michael C. DJ Moonchild. I know, right? Live Loot. I hear you, man. Matt Woods. What's going on, Matt Woods? Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. That is good to hear, Matt. All right, folks. So, we are going to talk about the Marvel announcement, or basically the Marvel statement that they put out today. I'm sure by now, most of you have probably already seen it circulating. I mean, shout out to everyone everyone's circulating it by now. I mean, we're going to bring it up, but of course, we're here to really flesh it out and talk about it. And my intent today is what's been my intent over the last, couple of streams. I know this whole thing has been beaten to a dead horse, but we got Marvel jumping in now. That changes the playing field. It brings more context in, and it allows us to have more conversation that is, again, in turn productive. So we want to move this conversation forward. We don't just want to sit here and beat the dead horse and yell and scream and do all that. That's what we can do with this information today. Now, before we do that, Jeremy, what's going on, Jeremy? That's right. Left the roast. Absolutely. Before we get into it, and while we're still letting a few folks jump in here, Funky Martin, we're going to talk about the CGC thing real quick. So, big shout out to Bill with Economics and Comics. He just dropped the video. I watched it. It's like 4 minutes long. I watched it right before I came live. Talking about CGC announcing that they are going to be on Whatnot. CGC has a profile, or a seller/user profile on the Whatnot app. And they're saying, we're going to have this live stream. We're going to have special guests, Jim Lee and some other folks. We're going to be giving doing giveaways. Come join us. And what Bill was saying and what a lot of people are saying already is like, oh, is this not the biggest conflict of interest ever? How is CGC going on Whatnot? Are they selling comic books now? Are they selling their own graded comic books now? And I'll tell you, there's no black and white to this. CGC selling comic books is the biggest conflict of interest ever in comic books, ever. Do I think that's what they're going to do? Well, let me tell you why I hope that's not the case. You guys have to understand that Whatnot is a revolutionary platform because it is a selling app at its core, of course, but it's this too. It's that interaction, right? Are you guys coming here to buy comics today? Nope. You're coming here to hang out, talk comics, and talk stuff. We're talking about stuff. Important things that are important to us. So essentially, this is like I'm marketing myself, I'm advertising myself by having a YouTube channel and going live and doing streams, right? You guys are here hanging out, you support my content, you subscribe to me, you comment, whatever the case may be. What I'm thinking is this. StreamYard. Whatnot, the Whatnot app works in that same way to an extent. CGC doesn't actually have to be selling anything on Whatnot. What they're doing possibly is this. There's something to gain on the business side of things for Whatnot and CGC by doing a CGC live stream on the Whatnot selling app, even if they're not selling comics. Because CGC obviously are big dogs in the comic book industry. Whatnot, they're up and coming still, but you got to give it to them. Whatnot, they're all over the place, man. They came, they conquered. Whatnot are big dogs in of themselves with a lot of growing room, though. So don't you think if CGC has their own, profile on Whatnot on their app, and CGC says we're going live, you don't think that's going to bring people to the app? Absolutely. So that works in benefit for Whatnot. And then CGC coming over on the Whatnot platform benefits them because it gets them into a different niche market of people that are looking to buy. So it's more, but even if they're not selling, it's publicity. It's publicity from this. So they might just be going on the Whatnot app, doing a live stream just like this, having Jim Lee and all these other guests hang out in the little boxes. And instead of selling stuff, they might just be giving stuff away to promote their next CGC Signature Series signing, to promote CGC in general, whatever the case may be. That is what I think and hope this is. But, Pedro, what's going on? But if CGC sells one book during that stream, that's going to be one of the biggest red flags that we have ever seen in the comic book community. And if that happens, then we'll talk about it. That's my thoughts on that. That is my quick few minute thoughts on that. Martin, I'm not Martin. I can neither deny or validate your statement. But let me tell you something, Martin. Please take this like constructively. You're stating that as fact, and you can't do that. Now, could that be something that we can assume might be happening on the back end? Absolutely, because we're the public, right? And public perception means everything. And with all the questionable things that have been happening with CGC as of late, I mean, Martin, I don't blame you for questioning that, but you have to be careful with stating it as fact because you can't prove it as fact. And unless you got factual evidence that I don't know about, but I can guarantee that you don't because nobody sees what's going on behind the curtain of the Wizard of Oz, right? But I hear you, Martin. I'm not, saying, oh, don't say that about CG. I'm saying, hey, I've said this before. I am so against everyone jumping to these conspiracy theories. But when you as a business continue to do things that continue to erode our trust, I don't blame people for thinking like Martin's thinking, saying, how do we know? And again, Martin, I'm going to change the way you worded this. What if Martin just said, how do we know that they're not partnering up with Whatnot in giving them grade bumps or giving them 9.8s? Like, we don't know that. So you can't say it as fact, Martin, but I don't blame you for questioning. We don't know what goes on behind the closed curtains. And it's sad that we have to jump to these conclusions and assume these things. Now, I don't want to assume anything negative of Whatnot and anybody that works for Whatnot, but I'll tell you, these 10.0s and 9.9s for all these acetates and the way they've been handling that, that's really fishy. And somebody even brought it to the attention that none of the UF4 Clayton Crane variants from Black Flag that were submitted without the acetate, there was not one 9.9, let alone a 9.10. So even if they're not doing so, hey, Black Flag, we're going to hook you up. Even if they're not doing that and they're just grading the plastic acetate cover and not grading the book, that's the problem, because then you're not doing your job. You're not grading the book. You're just looking at a plastic cover that shouldn't be there in the first place. And that's the point of this stream today. Oh, here's a book, plastic cover. The plastic cover looks like a 9.9. 9.9. CGC, digging a deeper hole here, maybe. Did I just see Philly born? Philly born, what's going on? It has been a minute. I appreciate you being here. Guilty by association. I don't really know what you're talking about, Philly born. If you can elaborate. Guilty by association. First off, I don't believe in the guilty by association. That's and Philly born. Now I don't know your ethnicity, and I'm not going to offend anybody here, but I'm going to bring race. I'm going to bring race into this, right? That's like the media perpetuating the like black folks or brown skinned people are criminals because they sensationalize the fact that a black or brown individual may have committed a crime, or that the prison industrial complex is overran by black and brown individuals. So are we going to say we associate guilt because of the color of our skin? Now, I know that's not apples to apples here, but we can't sit here and say guilty by association. You can't. Now, we can. There is questionable concerns that we can bring when it comes to association. But to straight put guilt, it gets us nowhere. It gets us nowhere. It gets us nowhere by placing guilt, first off, before we even have facts, and secondly, just by association. You can't do that. When, with all of this stuff that's been happening, the guilt isn't even factualized in many scenarios because people in this community jump to conclusions so often. JLS, what's going on? No, I hear you, Martin, but yeah, it's just like, again, look, I say this a lot too. Language matters, right? Language is powerful, and the more smart we are with how we are communicating and the language that we're using, the better our language can be used as a weapon. And I don't mean a weapon in a negative way. I mean in a good way, to stand up for things, to fight the good fight in defense of things, and to put forth argumentation. Like, if we use words in our spoken word in a way that can come back against us, it lessens our firepower and our ability to stand firm in our points of views and our arguments. So that's all I'm saying, Martin, is like, let's question these things, but let's be more strategic on how we say it. Because if somebody could come at you and say, well, you don't have any facts, it then muddies your argument for us to at least question it, right? And say, well, shoot, I don't trust them anymore, and this is why. It smells funny. Call it like it is. So again, Philly, I think you're talking about the CGC working with Whatnot thing. Again, I'm not. Look, I just called it how it was. I have no evidence that CGC is going to sell a book. I don't. So I'm not going to jump to conclusions. It does me no good. It does you no good. It does the audience no good. It does this community and this industry no good for me to call it any other way than what I'm saying. I'm being straightforward. This is what I think it is. I don't know yet because all we have is a little blurb from CGC. I told you what I think it is, what I hope it is, but as soon as it's not that, then we call it what it is then. If CGC sells one book, it is a huge problem. I can't speak to anything smelling fishy when it comes to CGC and Whatnot, because then it turns into conspiracy theories. I have no evidence. Now, I'll tell you guys this. I sell on Whatnot, and I think Whatnot is a great platform in general. But I also have concerns with how they're doing business. And that's something that I do plan on doing a video about. But I can't sit here and point a finger at anybody saying that, oh, look, see, oh, we know what's going on. CGC's hooking up Whatnot with some books. I can't say that. That is irresponsible of me as a journalist, because if Journo says it, everyone that supports me is going to echo chamber it, groupthink it, and go run with it. And that's how conspiracy theories start. And if you guys have been watching my channel over the last couple of weeks, you guys know why I say the things the way I say them. Swaggle. For sure, Philly. No, I appreciate, and I appreciate you listening and us seeing this is what's good about us talking. Like, Philly, you could come back and be like, well, screw you, like, you don't see eye to eye with me, then you just want to argue, or you can't disagree with someone. No, I feel like you brought up some valid points. I was able to add context, and you're saying I appreciate that. You're listening, and now we're having a conversation, right? Now we're learning from each other. And hopefully the audience watching is learning, like, okay, how do we deal with these things? How do we approach these things? Et cetera, et cetera. You see what I'm saying? Ooh, Alfonso, I don't know, man. I hear what you're saying. Like, if they're selling something for the art, like CGC can't sell. They can't sell. The only thing they need to be selling is their service of grading books. Nope. Sinfully good. What's going on? Circumstances is in the house. Oh, man. Already causing problems. Mike Cummings asks, you think we might be getting back to the 90s comic fallout? No, Mike. I mean, completely different, but this has been a fallout, Mike. This has been a fallout. And it's not just the community and YouTubers yapping and beating a dead horse. Like, there's been real things of depth happening here. But I think that's good, because I don't think that it's not going to end in a fallout. I think this is going to move the needle forward. It really is. So I want to get past, excited, what's going on? I want to get past the CGC stuff. We have a special guest coming on soon, and I want to get to the thick of this Marvel statement. Tactical, what's going on? Comic noob. A fallout of ultimate proportions. I love it. Now we just need to figure out how to put the number 4 in there. You know, Mike, people could be about covers though if they enjoy the art and all that, but you know, we want collectors to be about what's inside the pages as well. And believe me, Mike, there are. The problem is that it just, you know, people don't necessarily focus on it. But believe me, there are. And I got a stream coming up about, you know, putting to bed the myth of people don't read comics anymore, because people do. A lot of people do. But we are going to move on here and get to the main event. And we're going to talk about this statement issued by Marvel. And we're going to bring it up. Lyric, thank you for being here. We are going to bring up the statement because I do want to read it with you guys. Okay, here we go. All right, so like I said, I know most of you probably have seen this, but we are going to read it again, and we're going to flesh it out. Marvel official statement regarding the Black Flag Ultimate Fallout 4 Acetate Clayton Crane variant. Hello, everyone. As you all continue to expand your businesses, we want to thank you for continuing to explore exclusive opportunities with Marvel through our exclusive retail variant program. So, just to add context, most of us know what they're talking about. But for those that don't, they are talking about the fact that retailers and dealers and such, like Black Flag or, you know, KRS Comics, Midtown Comics, J. Scott Campbell, Unknown Comics, they can sign an agreement with a publisher, put a minimum of 3,000 books together of a current new release book from the publisher, and have their own exclusive variant on it, and it's sold exclusively within their store. So that's what they're talking about here. They want to continue to explore exclusive opportunities with Marvel as the publisher through our exclusive retailer variant program. They continue by stating this. By participating in our program, please remember that all cover artwork must be created and approved by Marvel. Once submitted and accepted, no retailer has permission to use these comics or art to create new products, edit, or change the published comic in any way. This, of course, pertains to all past and current comics. We have updated our deal sheets, the contracts, for all retailer variant cover requests moving forward to emphasize these points. Now, that statement right there is going to be very important to how we look at this. As always, thank you for everything you do, and we appreciate your cooperation and continued support. So, we're going to get down to this. Hold on one second, guys. I'm trying to make sure I'm getting my guest situated here. Okay. All right. So we're gonna pull this down and focus on a couple of things. I'm gonna see what Swag says. Swag House says, let me bring it up so I can read it. I know they implied this was the case, but are they actually saying that Black Flag did not comply with their terms? So yes, Swaggle, I'm glad. Look, this is, and again, guys, I wasn't there, wasn't at the board meeting. I didn't script this out. This is what I think, Swag. So if you go back to, remember I said that line that's very important. To me, they're saying that there's a loophole in this. So I think Black Flag is going to get away with this because it wasn't outlined in the original text. You know, I know there's a lot of people advocating for class action lawsuits, sue them and all this stuff, but I think because the interpretation of the binding contract cannot be applied to the alterations that Black Flag made. Does that make sense? That's what I'm thinking, Swag. So that's why they went back and changed the contract, and they're doing their best to say, even if we have a contract with you from the past and you have these books, you cannot alter them. But can they actually take legal action? Unless they're going back and making individuals that have old contracts sign like an affidavit or something that updates the terms. I don't know if that's what they're doing, but they could be. But regardless or not, Swag, they absolutely are implying that Black Flag, what they did was wrong, and they should have never did it. And it is something that should have been implied, although possibly not clarified, if that makes sense. Yep, Swag says, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, I mean, the whole CGC situation is still another huge freaking issue in and of itself. Let's see what Stevie B has to say here. Unfortunately, CGC is a private organization. They are not governed by Marvel. Yeah. Stevie B, yeah, pretty much. But there's ways around that. I think there's ways around that. We can maybe get into that a little later, but yeah. I mean, they get away with doing that anyways. Whole other conversation. First appearance of third and fourth staple. I love that. That's been going around. Stevie B. Literally, you could. You could. Exclusive doo-doo stained variant. Oh my goodness. Hey, that's how I'm Clayton. Nah, I don't want to say Clayton Crane. Hey, I'm a famous artist, and that's how I sign my name. So man, yeah, just I think that's where we're at. One second, guys. All right, so the one other thing I want to bring up, looking at this, let's see. Once submitted and accepted, no retailer has permission to use these comics or art to create new products, edit, or change the published comic in any way. And with them continuing or to adding on that we've updated our terms to emphasize these points again, I think that just reiterates Swag's question and my points following. And I think that's where we're at. So, guys, look, let me just say something real quick. Because, again, I know that YouTube creators, everyone in the community is beating this to a dead horse, has beaten it to a dead horse. But this, and let me add one more thing, and so many people are like, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change. The community is just going to rant. I want you all to understand right now that the reason that Marvel issued this statement, that the reason CGC has issued 3 statements and still ain't good enough, but again, another conversation. The reason that Marvel issued this statement today is because of all of us. It's because our voices do matter if we do it in a productive way. I want you all to really sit and marinate on that. if this was never in the public eye, in the public being the perception of the consumer, and wasn't beaten to a dead horse every single day for the last, what has it been? 13 days now, whatever the case, this would not have happened. And it's not for nothing, it's for good. It's moving this community, it's moving the industry forward. And that is what I want to be the biggest takeaway out of this today. Where we go from here, that's still to be seen. We could talk about that. We are going to bring in a special guest in just a minute here. I'm very excited to have this guest on. We're going to dive into this even further from a retailer standpoint. Hey, Mark Leniger, what's going on? I wonder if Marvel had a little one-on-one with Crane. That very could well be. And, I mean, again, not to throw anyone under the bus, but it's accountability, and it's a learning lesson. Mistakes are meant to be made if you learn from them. And I hope everyone involved learn from them. I don't like how certain people handle things, but if they learn from it and move forward, then that's a positive. Manny, look, and again, like, I'm not insinuating that this is going to happen. I love the humor in this. Will this happen? No, but again, it's grading and chill on whatnot. Bid this up, we'll give it a 9.8. It's like that. I think that humor and that sarcasm comes from the fact that we have valid concerns. Now, to sit and say that people are going to do that's a whole other thing. But that was a good one because that was funny. All right, guys. We are going to bring in an awesome special guest. We recently had an awesome Combo Book Canon show. If you guys are following us over there on Combo Book Canon, if you're not, you should. We have live shows once a week. Check out the link in the description below. We recently, Jeff and I, my co-host, were in the same room for the first time ever, and we had the honor of doing it at my favorite local comic book shop, A1 Comics. It was an awesome experience, and today we have an awesome special guest hailing from A1 Comics, the one and only. Let's bring him in, Wes.
Hey, what's up?
What's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going, Chris? Hopefully my feed looks all right. I'm on the phone. I'm working with limited technology today.
Hey, you're all good.
Right.
You're here. We see you. We hear you loud and clear. I think that's probably the most important thing.
Good. I like it, man.
Yeah.
How you doing?
It's been crazy, man, to say the least. So, I know I was chatting with you today, and I'll let everyone here know, it's been a crazy, I don't know how many days, and I wasn't really feeling it today. Wes and I were talking about getting together, and I was like, Wes, we might need to postpone. But then I kicked myself in gear and said, Wes, not only are we doing a video, I want to bring you live. Let's do this live. And you're like, I'm down. So here we are.
Yeah, here I am, man. Ready to talk it up. I know that you and I had talked about a few different things. I know that people associate me with A1, and right now, obviously, I do work for A1, but I do want to give my opinion as a retailer, and also my opinion as somebody that's been a part of the comic collecting hobby pretty much all my life too. So I'm going to basically give you my opinion on. I'm assuming you already were kind of queuing that up, talking about some of the drama, if you will.
I love that, Wes. So thank you for again, chat. I think this is very imperative right now, because I do feel, and we're going to talk about this a little bit too, there's a lot of us against them mentality right now. And while accountability should always go around, no one is without accountability. This us against them is, to me, doesn't ever solve anything. And I love the fact that you came in here saying, I represent A1, I represent a retailer, but I'm also Wes, and I love comic books, and I'm a comic book fan and in this hobby just like anyone else here. So I appreciate that perspective. Absolutely. I do want to say, though, guys, A1's links are below. You know, and that's me doing this as
Appreciate you. Yeah.
fan. You know, Wes isn't telling me to hype A1 up, but go check them out, guys. So yeah, so Wes, let's start by we're gonna kind of backtrack a little. And
Sure.
I know, like I said, this has been going on for a couple weeks now almost. And I don't want to be repetitive here, but
Yeah.
I do want to ask you from a retailer standpoint. And again, if you need to bring in, you know, Wes's personal opinion in this at any point in time, please do so. But from a retailer standpoint, when this started going down, you know, we had I think the initial thing that started coming out, of course, was guys like, we're here, Black Flag's booth. People are like, there's like influencers cutting line and all this stuff. And then it just kind of escalated from there. So maybe like within the first 48 hours, as a retailer, did this concern you off the back, or did it maybe take time to get more facts in, or like, how were you watching this play out?
I mean, I didn't hear about it off the bat because honestly, like there was things that, you know, even though I'm heavily involved in the comic book world, obviously, there's a lot of times where, you know, I can't keep tabs on everything going on. There's a lot going on. And, there was a little bit of chatter I was hearing about C2E2, but I didn't really hear about all of it until that Monday or whatever, because I kind of try to, I try to detach. I had those 2 days off when I came back in, and I'm like, whoa, you know what I mean? On Monday, that was kind of the talk with me and, the guys that we do the live sales with, and that's all we were talking about for sure. So we definitely had some thoughts, but it didn't really catch up with me until like that Monday. You know what I mean?
For sure. Okay, so there's many layers here. Obviously, a lot of the controversy and the pushback was on the influencers, and I think that's where the conversation started to get counterproductive. I want to put that aside for a minute, and being, now that we got this statement from Marvel, I do want to focus on, and again, I'm going to say Black Flag's name, but I want everyone to know I'm not here to blackball Black Flag.
Yeah.
I'm not here to throw their name under the bus. It goes back to accountability for sure, and I'm sure at this point, Black Flag and everyone affiliated with them, they get it, they know, and they're going to have to keep pushing through this to do the right thing as a business. But
right,
so you see this retailer doing what they did simply. Now we're putting aside people cutting in line or influencers getting special copies, putting all that aside. Yeah. We're coming down simply to them saying, we signed a contract with Marvel to get 3,000 or more, whatever, exclusives made of this Clayton Crane UF4 facsimile variant. Months later, I guess they had a certain amount laying around, and they're like, well, we're not really selling these anymore. We're going to get creative. We're going to get creative and think of a different way, an artistic way of selling these. Now, one example that I brought up was, I know that artists, they use those special pens that, and they like alter a comic book cover.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they're like Copic markers or what they are, but
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And they'll sell them, they'll sell them. Obviously I don't know if those are sold by retailers though.
Yeah.
So I'm like, but I'm thinking like, okay, well they're getting creative and they're just adding some art to a book and hey, selling a new product. But now that we know that Marvel did not greenlight this, and that Marvel is coming out today stating that this actually goes against the contractual agreement. And like I was saying earlier before you hopped on, maybe it was just the agreement is so vague that there is no legal accountability there to be had. But I know my question to you is this. I know that A1, you guys just recently did your first exclusive, right?
Yeah, I'd say like it was back at the beginning of the year. We did our first store exclusive. It was, it's one of those things where that's something that, Brian, a little bit old school and stuff like that. It's just not something that the store had ever really expressed interest in. And I kind of was getting the ball rolling with that. And it was a lot of work, but we got it done finally. But it's a lot of work. Yeah.
Right. So, and I don't know how involved you were with, just the behind the scenes.
Heavily.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. And I know maybe hindsight, maybe it's tough for you to go back into that position to say, you were what you were or were not conscious of, but after you guys did what you needed to do, signed the paperwork or whatever, and push the agreement forward,
Yes.
to get this exclusive from a publisher. Were you aware of altering said book to be either wrong or right at that point in time? Like, would you have gone through that process and been left with extra copies and said, hey, well, we can, throw something on this book or throw a blank cover on it or something and be okay with it?
I mean, there's a couple. That's kind of nuanced. So there's two things I want to touch on. So one, my head wouldn't even go there personally. Like, I wouldn't be like, hey, let's tear the cover off and put a new cover on, or like alter this or whatever. That's just, my head would never go there. And then there's the other side of that, like the legality thing. I think that you're trying, kind of hitting on is like, well, hey, is there fine print in that contract or whatever that says, or whatever, what the publisher is saying that, hey, you can't do that, or if they were to make you aware of that, would you hesitate on doing an exclusive or whatever? And the answer for me is no, because I mean, that's, again, like, that just seems like a weird, like, thought process I wouldn't even go down. To me, when I think of an exclusive, I'm thinking of, pairing up a really cool artist that I'm excited to work with a story that I'm excited to tell, or like that like a storyline, like a title. So like those two things together, to me, maybe I'm easily pleased. That's enough for me to sell a book, or enough for me to, as a retailer, buy into that. You know what I mean?
Right. Well said. Yeah. I hear you, and I understand that it's the nuance of that question, but I think you explained it very well. So I want to explore now what you feel. We're having outcomes come forth every day.
Yeah. But
do you feel now that this is going to be a positive thing that happen? Like I was just saying earlier, again, like, mistakes are meant to be made.
Yeah.
As long as we learn from them. Like, so do you think the comic book community as a whole, do you think retailers are themselves as well are going to grow as a whole from this and learn from this to push us forward? Or do you think this is going to be an ugly stain that's going to linger?
I think it's going to be a little bit of both, unfortunately. I think, like, the thing is I think that some people will learn, and I think some people will be hesitant, but in any, like, hobby or anywhere somebody can take like a shortcut to make money, there's always going to be those bad apples that are going to try and do that. But I think as far as like a stain, like, I think that collectors are easily kind of, like, collectors, especially people that collected during the comic book crash in the 90s, a lot of those people were probably burned, like, if they were collecting or they put a lot of money into comics. So if you feel like you're getting burned again, and maybe you've been burned once before, I mean, that could turn somebody off to the hobby. So, I mean, it's really hard, because, you want to have hope that, like, that's not going to be the case, because, again, you care about this hobby, I care about this hobby. But it's a bit unfortunate. The one good thing I would say is that the community, the comic book community, is very good at kind of self-policing, whether it's, Instagram, YouTube, or whatever. We see a lot of people kind of holding each other accountable for doing the right things most of the time. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I love the burned terminology. It reminds me of like a forest fire, and how devastating a forest fire can be. But after that fire is put out, there is opportunity for new growth. So maybe that's kind of a metaphor of looking like this, and maybe there's some things that we can't come back on, but maybe that new growth can be a fresh beginning for some folks or some avenues of this hobby as well. Okay, so I do want to talk a bit about the CGC with you here.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I've always been about propping businesses up in a way to where me holding, if I'm on my channel and I'm discussing concerns of a business, it's always in a productive manner to, again, it's all about accountability. I want them to grow. I have huge concerns. I've had a lot of different concerns with CGCs over the year. But I still want CGC success. They still offer a lot of value for a lot of collectors. They came out immediately issuing a very straight to,
did you lose me?
Oh, well, we still hear you.
You still hear me? Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see if my video comes back up, but I'm here listening and I'm ready to answer.
All right. Good. We still got that. That's what matters. Okay. So, you know, we get the short to the point statement. We know what they're doing. We support it. More backlash, more backlash, more controversy. Okay. Well, we still support it, but we're going to change the label and then we're going to, you know, these are our rules. And who knows if those rules were there before. Maybe they were just like, guys, you need to get into the execs lounge. You need to sit down. We need to write how are we approaching this? Let's write some rules down. We need to make it public. You know, we don't know what happened. But now, again, pertaining to the statement that Marvel made today.
Yeah.
What do you think? This is like a two-part question. One, what do you think CGC's, because I believe CGC's in hot water. What do you think CGC's next move should be? What do you think the right move is for them now? And the part two of that question is, and how do you see that affecting them moving forward?
Well, I mean, that's a hard question. It's a good question. It's a hard question. Because I mean, it's like, I don't know, they've put themselves in a position where, I mean, obviously, we all know that they have a pretty good stranglehold on the market still. Even with what happened, I think that, there's going to be a lot of people that, maybe they're not as informed, maybe they don't even know about what happened. So they're going to be blind to that. And then there's going to be people that are still, going to be like, well, whatever, I have issues with CBCS, or I don't trust whoever, pick a person, EGS or whoever. So there's still, even though that happened, they're still going to be hesitant to cut CGC off. So it's a really weird situation. And I know that CGC knows that plays in their favor, but also, I mean, it's a really bad look. And I mean, they got to do some sort of damage control for sure. I mean, they kind of are, but I mean, it's I just, I don't know, if I was them, I don't know, I'd be rethinking my whole business strategy for sure.
I hear you. I think I'm the same way too. It's like, just as a business person, you got to look at this and, acknowledge that all the problems. I mean, I just can't believe that they'd be so, headstrong to just put up those walls. But it comes to this question though. Do you really think it's simply about them noticing if it affects their pocketbook or not?
I think that's that. I mean, money talks, especially, when you're, king of the hill like that, and, they haven't really had to worry about competition. I mean, and I mean, does this leave more room for CBCS to move in? We've seen in the past where there was, I forget what happened. There was a controversy a few months ago or something that CGC did where CBCS threw shade at CGC.
Taking the things off the labels.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, and you're leaving your competition and a gap to come in and, do what they do. And you have to actually admire that CBCS, I mean, it's just smart business to be able to be like, hey, look, if you guys aren't going to put the notes on the label, we are, and we're going to do graders notes for free, and you know what I mean? And so you're doubling down on the mistakes you see your competition making, you know what I mean? So absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how it affects them. You know, it's hard when they have big deals with, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Like they've got big deals, I'm sure, with Heritage and some of the big boys, that it's like, it makes it really hard to knock them off, and it makes them hard. Even in this situation, how much are they really sweating? You know what I mean?
Right. Love it, man. Love your answer. I think for me, trying to be an optimist, and again, guys, I'm gonna get some critics saying, "Oh, you're not calling them out hard enough." You know, like
Yeah.
I just being an optimist. What I would like to see is that, like, kind of like you were saying, you know, let some of this put the fire under them. They've never had that competition before, and understanding business, we need healthy competition. I want CGC to actually better themselves from this. And if it means that they stay on top, then it means they stay on top. But at least they're realizing we aren't the only ones eating here, you know, eating off this plate. And if we continue to just kind of lay back, somebody else can come grab a big bite. And I know they don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna try to be an optimist and say that they're gonna look at it like that and continue to evolve. But you know, hey, I mean, for me, that future is.
Yeah, I hope they do because. Yeah, I hope they do because honestly, you know, as much as it's easy to like, you know, they're a big target, right? Yeah. It's as easy it is to kind of knock them or whatever. There is a lot of things that CGC does right, and there's a lot of things, you know, that that they've done that I've been, you know, as far as their marketing and stuff like that. There's things that, like, as a business person, I look at, I'm like, hey, that is smart, that is impressive, you know, but you can't let quality control slide. You can't let these things slide because, you know, like, it's going to affect the end user experience, the collector experience, and you know that's what this is about. You know, this is supposed to be something fun. This is supposed to be something that we do. A lot of people do to escape from, you know, their day to day. You know, you collect books, you go through your collection and everything, and then if you send off these books and they come back and there's maybe something's trapped in the case, you know what I mean? Like CGC slabbed it improperly, you know what I mean? And then that's your book, and that means a lot more to you than it does to them. And it wasn't done with malice by them, I'm sure, you know, it was a mistake, but it's just hard because the little guys, you know, that are collecting, again, this is supposed to be a release, it's supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be a hobby. So if they can up their quality control and they could fix these issues, I mean, I would like to see that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. We got a question here. Before I get into it, this is going to be the last question about CGC. I do want to remind everyone we're hanging out with Wes here today. Wes is he works at A1 Comics in Sacramento. But like Wes said when he came on, Wes is also a comic book lover and collector, just like all of us. So
absolutely,
really well-balanced perspective that we're bringing to the channel today. So real quick, so last thing about CGC, Simply Good asked a great question here. Do you think Marvel will tell CGC to make the UF4 green label? Now, Wes, before we just answer this, I want to kind of elaborate on that. My question to you isn't necessarily saying is CGC or is Marvel going to tell them to make it green? My question to you, pulling from that, is do you think that Marvel and CGC are simply going to have a conversation?
I mean, that's tough. I mean, you know, I think that they should. Yeah, I think they absolutely should. But, you know, Marvel, again, and I'm not trying to throw shade at Marvel either, but Marvel is, you know, they're a monster. And I hate to say it, but is it worth their time to even pick up the phone? Yeah. You know, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but yes, I think that conversation should be had. And I think that, you know, Marvel, you know, and all the comic book publishers benefit from a happy hobbyist community. Right. So, I mean, I think if they can put in a, you know, effort to kind of help figure it out and make it right, I think that that's the right thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you there. The sentiment is there, but you're right. It's like, it's all about their resources and are they willing, you know, everything's a cost benefit of analysis for these big companies. And, you know, if they don't think it's going to benefit them looking at their bottom line, then, you know, we shall see. So, a couple more key points here to talk with you today, Wes. Sure. I want to end the conversation kind of looking at this from the macro telescope, looking down at it all and trying to talk about a little bit, summing up kind of a solution. But before we do that, I do want to bring up something. It's relevant to this, but I think it's a little different.
Sure.
But again, and this is bringing your retailer experience here, representing A1. So
Yeah.
I really been wanting to ask anybody that's in the retail game about this, and it's looking at incentive variance. Now, just to add context for the audience, I'm not talking about collectors wanting to collect incentives and variants or not wanting to. Oh, I would never spend this much money on an incentive variant or on a variant, or I only collect for the art and I'll spend hundreds of dollars on this 1 in 100. That's all fine and dandy. That doesn't pertain to this question. This is specifically to how the publishers have the incentive variant option set up. So for those that don't know, when you see the 1 in 10, the 1 in 25, the 1 in 50, 1 in 100 ratios, that means that for the retailers, for every, you need to order 100 copies of cover A in order to be able to buy 1 copy of the 1 in 100 variant. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So my thing, I'm going to tell you how I feel about this, and I would just love to hear your thoughts.
Sure.
So now I understand, though, there's a lot of people out there that say it's rigged, it's messed up. Publishers, they have a stranglehold on retailers doing this. It distorts sales data because, when like 2019 broke records 1.2 billion sold. Well, they're not talking about customers going and buying copies. That's from the publisher. So I understand these arguments, but then it gets down to like these retailers or these stores that complain and say, this is wrong because I can't get the 1 in 100 variant. Or you get retailers that go and order so many books because they need to get a couple copies of the 1 in 100. And then they're sitting on all this backstock saying, nobody buys comics anymore, and I can't even sell my inventory, and it's rigged, And here's my thoughts, and I'll let you jump in. For me, while I am very empathetic to the market, to the retail market in general, not just talking about comics, it is an online, ship to home, deliver to home. Nobody, we are so spoiled with the technology we have. Retail has been suffering for 20 years now, and it's gotten worse. Yeah, especially for comic books and LCSs, it's becoming harder and harder. Rent continues to go up. Costs continue to go up. I get it. I don't want any LCS to go out of business, but it's my opinion that if an LCS is ordering X amount of books simply to get 1 variant for them to make maybe $30 off of 1 or 2, and then they have all this backstop and they can't sell it and they can't pay rent, they're doing it wrong, or they're in the wrong business.
Yes. Yeah. So, okay. I can actually, it's funny you say that. I can give you a great example of that too. There's times where we've done that, but we know, so we feel good about the title that we're ordering on enough to get that incentive, that we're okay with having that backstock. So a good example, Venom 200, oversized, square bound, milestone book, a lot of great covers. So we were okay with getting cover A, B, C, D, and ordering a bunch to get the, one in, there was like a 1 in 200 and some other stuff. And we ended up getting a couple, I think we ordered like 1,000 copies or a lot. So we had because I remember we had a few 1 in 200s. I might be talking crazy, but anyways, the point is, we were okay with backstock on that because that's it's like a $10 cover price. You get a lot of reading material. There's multiple stories in that. It's a great back issue bin if it doesn't sell, books. So we go into making that commitment knowing, like looking at the numbers, and going, okay, we're going to commit to buying all these to get that incentive, but we also feel good about having like a long box of back issues of this because it's a cool book. It's going to be cool 5 years from now, in our opinion, even if it's not a keep, But we would never overextend ourselves on something just to get the retailer or the incentive variant and then be stuck with back issues of junk. We would just, that's just not, So I can't really, I don't know why anybody would do that because, if you're going into debt trying to get an incentive variance, or taking out a line of credit. That's crazy. So yeah, you gotta. I mean, it's just business. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that's
Go ahead.
what's up. Yeah, I just yeah, you got to be careful. I mean, I think maybe people get it's emotional. Like maybe people get almost FOMO. Like, or maybe if you're running a shop and you really want that and you go crazy or something. But I just think you got to be smart with money. In this business, the margin of success and failure is so thin. Like being a comic book retailer, you can easily shoot yourself in the foot making bad decisions. Just like any business, but it's less forgiving with comics. We, it's a hobby, and when things are bad, I mean, one of the first things to go is people. People definitely kind of are like, okay, I'll go buy less comics.
Right.
So, and we survive off, the goodwill of having return customers that we've built up relationships with, and it's tough. So, yeah, you can't shoot yourself in the foot by going crazy for incentive variance, though. So, yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, no, great perspective, and this is I think I hope people are taking notes, especially if you guys run a shop or thinking about running one or work for one. I like what you said about FOMO. It goes to show that FOMO isn't just on the on the collector or the consumer side. If you're running a store and you're thinking that you're looking at every day running a business. For me, I'm always looking at money's always on my mind one way or another, and it has to be, because that's why you're running a business. So it's easy to just get caught up in the emotions there. I love your example about what you guys in A1 did, though, as well, because you, again, cost benefit analysis to look at the fact that we actually can over order this specific issue because of this factor, this factor, this factor, and you play out all those variables and come to a decision. You made your decision based on all of those things. It's not just a simple, well, can I sell all these books or not? I like how you brought up all those little details to sell. We think we could sell enough, but then even if we don't, we think that they could sit in the back issues to still bring us some little residual trickling in revenue over time and so forth.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not like a random title that, like a random indie title that nobody's ever heard of. It's Venom, I mean, like, that's why I use that as an example. So, you have to understand the market, understand what people like, and be careful not to go crazy. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. That was great. For everyone listening, I hope you guys really listen to that. I was glad to get that off my chest. I've been wanting to ask someone that for a long time now that's in the retail game. So, all right, Wes, I want to talk about one more thing before we go. And again, reminding everyone, we got Wes from A1 Comics here, folks. If you're not familiar with A1, they have 3 locations in the Sacramento area. If you're out in Northern California, I recommend go checking them out. I've been a loyal customer for close to 12 years now, and their links are below. But again, as Wes stated when he hopped on, Wes is not just here representing A1. He is a avid collector and lover of this hobby, just like all of us. So we're gonna come down to kind of the nitty gritty of this whole the macro analysis of everything that's been going on these last couple of weeks with C2E2 and this Black Friday Acetate exclusive. Now, I've gotten into I won't take too long talking about this, but just to again sum this up, I did my first stream like the first day when there was hardly any information. Yeah. And I came and did my first stream because I saw certain individuals in this community that seemed to have nothing but fingers pointing at other people, pitchforks. And it seems that, they hide behind good intentions, or they seem to state that, oh, I'm here for the community and I want to hold people accountable. But it seems to always be so toxic, and people's names were getting thrown under the bus before we even knew anything. And these same people have thrown me under the bus before. And I threw my hands up and I was tired of it. So I came on, I did a stream addressing that toxicity. But then the other half of the stream, I addressed the valid concerns that everyone seems to have over accountability, right? And then I did another stream. I went away. I was actually out of town. I did another stream focusing on the CGC issue, and we covered some more of those issues today. But I want to end my chat with you today going back to this the accountability within the community, especially when talking about influencers. And again, I hate that word. It's like, what is an influencer? Is it somebody that has a YouTube channel? And if so, well, how many subscribers do they need to have? Is it somebody that is a seller? Well, if they're only selling dollar bin books, are they not influencers, or do they have to be selling Action Comic #1s and AFP? So I hate that word, but YouTubers, sellers, whatnot, sellers. And then you have everyone that's in this community on social media, on Instagram, on YouTube, and so forth and so forth.
Yeah.
I believe that there is a proper way of handling things. And when I say proper way, it doesn't mean a cookie cut, it just means we have to hold ourselves. If we want to hold other people to accountability, we have to hold ourselves to a certain level of accountability in how we address things, how we talk about things, how we talk about others. And I think that by doing this, that allows us to be productive instead of being counterproductive, because I think we tend to shoot ourselves in the foot and breed more toxicity, even if our intentions are good, when we're trying to just, reap or not reap, but, God, find the answers within the commonality of us as collectors. We don't want shady practices going on. We don't want people taking advantage of the collectors and all these things that came out of this. In your own words, and then this could be you as Wes, you're not, this is you as a collector, stepping away from, you being a retailer, but you could probably bring retail savvy into this too. And I don't know, because this affects all of us, but I just want you kind of to do your best to sum up, how do we move forward with our frustrations, with holding people accountable, but doing it in a way that isn't counterproductive and doesn't perpetuate an us against them mentality. And I'll say one more thing before I let you jump in, because regardless of you folks like it or not, like people on YouTube, we're here on YouTube and we're not going anywhere. People selling on Whatnot, they're not going anywhere. Influencers, sellers, whatever, Whatnot probably isn't going anywhere. CGC isn't going anywhere. Black Flag and other retailers like them, they're not going anywhere. So Wes, how do we do this? How do we move forward in a productive, respectful manner?
Well, I think that, again, I talked about this a minute ago, but like the whole community policing itself is a great thing. I think that, the fact that people have for the most part, you have a pretty good open line of communication, or with a lot of these, like you want to call them influencers or whatever. A lot of people will, if you comment, or if you send a lot of people, even if you send them a DM, even, like you can, there's ways to getting a hold of people, or if you like really feel like something they did, there's a way to address it. You can reach out to people. And I feel like maybe like start having like a healthy conversation about like what's really going on, and find out if it's just a misunderstanding or what the intentions are, before, we open up like this big can of worms or whatever. But because I mean, that's the thing is that, part of it is how it looks like from the outside, but also what's the story, what are all the stories, and because if we can find that out, you know what I mean, then maybe we can have a discussion about like, hey, like what really happened here, so that we can make sure it doesn't happen again. Because again, we don't want people to feel burned. We don't want somebody to buy what they thought was a exclusive variant or something and spend hundreds of dollars. And most people, like, if they're buying a variant or they're spending that kind of money on a exclusive or whatever, hopefully they have that kind of money. But hopefully you don't have somebody that's new to this hobby, drops that kind of money, and is doing it, overextending themselves, thinking like, I'm getting something really cool, and maybe they're hoping that it'll turn into a profit or investment or whatever, and then they find out it's worth nothing in the future. They go to sell it, and then they don't get nothing. They don't get anything in the future. I'm just saying that could be a situation where it just really, somebody feels like they got screwed over, and I think like that's that would be really sad, as somebody that cares about this hobby, like it would be really awful to hear that, you know, somebody really feel like they got screwed over because of something like that. And I think that as long as, you know, communication is clear and like, you know, we're letting people know like, hey, this is exactly what you're buying. Or if people feel like it wasn't clear, they're able to kind of like hash it out. Because, you know, we don't want that door to be shut and them to be on the outside looking in, feeling like, hey, what happened to me? You know what I mean? Like, how did I end up with this book that's worth nothing and whatever? That would be awful. So I think, you know, communication and especially with intent is key, you know?
Yep. Absolutely. And I'm going to add to that. I mean, you're echoing what I believe, you know, at heart here, communication and intent. I want to add to intent though. And I've talked about this on my channel because I've learned, you know, when we're in a position of power to influence, and I got JLS's comment up here. I'll talk about that in a minute, but with the road to hell is paved with good intentions, that you know, saying, even when our intent is good, we have to be mindful of the perception, folks, as well. So we have to kind of humble ourselves at times and recognize that and try to, and that's why communication paired up with intent is very important, because intent can be misinterpreted very easily, especially on social media and often, and it can lead to this, you know, this big blow up that it started from a misunderstanding or misunderstanding that intent because of a false perception. So I think it's very important. I want to read JLS's comment here. Anyone who impacts another's perception, again, perception, or actions is an influencer. So technically, we're all influencers in one way or another. And the reason why I highlight this is because I've said this before to everyone here. You guys here in this chat, you have as much well, you know, whatever, we can weigh the percentages or ratios. You guys have influence on everyone here, just like I do or Wes does today. When you guys are on Instagram, sharing your pickups and, you know, expressing your concerns about CGC or this or that or influencers, you guys are influencing too. We absolutely, JLS, so true. We all have power and responsibility to influence perception. And that, again, with great power comes great responsibility. We all have that responsibility. It goes back to the first thing I let in talking about this point. We have to hold ourselves accountable as well.
Yeah.
We have to be willing to have the conversations. We have to give people the benefit of the doubt before we crucify them.
Yeah.
And we have to try to see things from different perspectives. And I always
absolutely.
Said, Wes, what's really important for me is that, and I give my experience in, you know, doing debate in college where, you know, you pick a very controversial topic and you're like, oh yeah, I can argue that. And they're like, argue against your personal beliefs. And you're like, whoa. And then you have to do that. And we have to be able to at least see the other side of things to really validate our own argument and our own concerns. So I think in Wes, I want to reiterate too, just you being here today. Again, I love that you introduced yourself as Wes, as this comic book enthusiast, as this comic book lover, and not just Wes, A1 Comics retailer, because I think it goes to show, and I really want to end on this point for everyone watching this. This goes back to why it sickens me that we have this us against them mentality. We are all humans, and the majority of people that are in this for business reasons are still the same as you. LCS owners open LCSs for the most part, because probably one day, at one point in time, they were the kid going into the LCS or going into the newsstand or the gas station.
Oh, yeah.
That comic book off the rack, and they have a love for this. I'm here. This is a business. Journals Comics is a business, but I'm here because I love this hobby and I don't want to do anything else. I hope I can keep doing this. Wes, I'm sure you work at A1 because it adds on to that love and joy of, you know, what you've held inside since you were a child within this hobby.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, you know, for me, I mean, I remember, you know, I'm not going to go too far down this, but I mean, I kind of grew up, I didn't grow up with a lot. And like one of the things that I remember is when, you know, I was having a hard time, or when I would do something good, my dad would buy me a comic. Like, he'd buy me a comic, and it would just be a random comic. It would be, you know what I mean? Like, you buy something off rack or whatever. And I remember at one point, like, I had my first short box of just random, I mean, no runs, just random stuff. I didn't know how the stories ended. You know what I mean? And like, when I could, I would scrounge up money to like get a book. And, you know, to me, I mean, it's crazy because it's like, you know, I work in a shop where, you know, I see every key imaginable. But I mean, that was, you know, ingrained in my life. So, so yeah, it's definitely, you know, and I'm sure you have similar experiences in your life. And Brian, the owner of A1, when I'll get in a new collection, or I'll get in some cool stuff, and I'll show him, and he's like a kid. Like, he looks at, like, he's a businessman, but he'll look at those books with the same kind of excitement you would look at them, and just open them up and flip through them. And so yeah, I mean, obviously, in it to make a living, be able to be able to feed our families and be able to keep the lights on and all that stuff, because we have to. But at the end of the day, we all care about this hobby and stuff like that. And I think that, you know, I'm not gonna sit here and go play devil's advocate too much, or go and get into the weeds with the whole controversy and all that. But a lot of the people involved, that I'm sure that there are people that got into this hobby too, or there's people that may have made mistakes, or whatever. And again, you know, miscommunication, whatever. So I think that, going back to what you said, figuring out a way to have a conversation, and figuring out what's going on, and be able to sort it out, and you know, get this community good again. You know what I mean?
Yep. Absolutely, guys. Absolutely, Wes. Thank you so much for hopping on today. A lot
Absolutely.
of great perspective. And I'm going to put A1 on blast again, because I want to do so. Guys, again, links are in the description below. If you are in Northern California, up to Reno, to Redding, I don't care where you are, take a drive.
Come by, say what's up.
Yeah, Roseville, Folsom. I still haven't been in the new Folsom location, so
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Come by, say what's up. We've got, I mean, crazy amount of just back issues. Lots of times, you know, like, I'm happy to show you something out of the vault, something crazy, if you want to come by and I'm there. So yeah, come by, say what's up. I always love putting faces to people's names. I'm a in-person kind of person. So, and it was good seeing you recently, by the way. That was great.
Yeah.
Always good.
That was awesome, man.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Maybe we'll do it again next year.
For sure.
Maybe we don't have to wait till next year. We'll see. See.
Yeah. All right, Chris.
Thank you so much. Hey, and guys, I'm going to be hanging out tomorrow. A1 they do live streams on Instagram, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. I saw that you guys got a whole bunch of Spidey books in, so I'm going to be hanging out.
Ooh.
I hope you guys are too. I'm shamelessly plugging A1 for
Appreciate
Wes.
you. Yeah.
Wes, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, I appreciate you, and I appreciate your audience hanging out with me. I know it's a little bit of a departure from, you know, probably your normal stuff, you know, having me on. So I appreciate them, you know, and hopefully I provided a little bit of a different flavor with my perspective. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. We appreciate you for sure.
All right, guys.
Bye, Wes. Be good.
Later.
Take care. Awesome. Wes from A1 Comics, guys. Really appreciate him coming on and adding a very unique perspective, you know. And I really want to reiterate, you know, you listen to everything that Wes said, and I didn't even have to say it. Wes came in here, you know, off the back saying, I want you guys to know that hi, my name is Wes, and I'm a comic book collector, right? Like, I'm here representing me as an individual in the fact that I love this stuff just like you guys, but I happen to work for a comic book store. I thought that was very great, and it set the tone in the message that I wanted to convey. But then going back to the fact that he works for A1 as a retailer, and going back to how we kind of ended it, saying, this isn't us versus them, guys. And I know sometimes some of you probably feel hopeless. And it's hard not to get, like I get passionate. And when I do, and I get loud and I get animated, you guys think, yo, why are you mad or yelling? And I'm like, I'm not mad or yelling. That's how I get. And maybe remember the intent versus perception. Maybe it's perceived wrong. Maybe that's why some people don't like me, but it is what it is. But maybe it's just because you have a misconception. So maybe that's like you guys too. Maybe, you really have good intentions when you jump on social media and start attacking things. But we got to stop the us versus them mentality. We are all human beings at the end of the day. And if we didn't have business, like this is a business. If it wasn't a business, two things. One, every comic book in your collection would be worthless. And many of you will say, well, I don't care about the value. Okay. Two, comic book publishers wouldn't be in business today. They would have been out of business a long time ago. And three, we wouldn't have the movies and the TV shows we enjoy. And all of this, we wouldn't have any of this, guys. You can't hate something just because it's a business. You can't. But you can hold the business accountable. But we can do it without being us against them. These people that are out here perpetuating it's influencer versus real collector. That's BS. Because just like JLS said, we all influence. That's why these high school clique, the high school clique mentality on part of the cool kids, because I call this influencer a clown and I stalk their social media pages and I take screenshots and I add clown emojis. I'm part of the cool kids now. You guys are influencing each other. It's an echo chamber. And then nothing gets done. You think that's productive? No. So, it's the productive nature of why we are where we are at today with all this stuff. Marvel dropping this statement, and it means a lot. It's pushing us forward. Hold on, got to take care of the bots. Bye-bye. So, Craig, let me tell you a little bit of Sun Tzu, okay? If you haven't read Sun Tzu, The Art of War, I recommend it for anybody. The greatest victory is the one that is won before the battle is fought. So what does that mean? It means that you strategically do what you need to do to avoid the battle. Anytime we go to war, it's not the best solution. Maybe sometimes it's the last solution, even though it's always a bad, war is never a good solution. But Craig, I'm sorry. It's like, that's completely different. We're talking comic books here still, guys. Come on, man. This is comics. Again, nobody's out here blowing up cities and killing children. And this is comics. Now it's business. It's business. And do you know what the best power in business is? It's when we attack revenue. It's when we attack their pockets. And that's in us. How we make our purchasing decisions with our purchasing power. Absolutely. Thank you, Bueller. And thank you for being here. If you have the ability to influence big or small, you have an obligation to put your best foot forward and to do it for the benefit of the people you are influencing. Now, remember, it's about actions, not words. Because it's easy to say, I'm for the community. I'm doing this for the community. But pay attention, and this is why I shared that Tupac clip on my last stream. Pay attention to people's action, and you'll be able to tell the real versus the phony. If somebody is sitting here saying, I'm for the community, but their actions are divide and conquer, or us against them, or they're calling people names and egging on their chat, you know, to name drop, you ain't doing nothing for the community. You're doing something for your own ego. If somebody is saying they're for the community and wants to squash the beef and is telling their chat to not act like children and name call people and blackball people, then maybe look at their actions and see how that affects the community. I will never sit here. Yes, I want to hold people accountable too. And because it's a business, we talk about the businesses or the players at hand the best we can. I do my best to reach out to people privately before doing so, even companies. But then as a journalist, I bring it to the table. I will never sit here and tell you guys to act in a counterproductive manner, though. Never. And that's how I hope you guys judge me and my actions. I'm not even going to spend any more time wasting on it, but you guys know what's transpired over the last couple of days. And I sat there and I showed, according to my actions, that I didn't want counterproductive behavior. Whether you thought I was right or wrong, it doesn't matter. And remember, I brought up that quote. It's not about, at the end of the day, it's not about right or wrong, but it's about how we treat each other. Absolutely. Unofficial geek. He's officially unofficial. Actions, yes, but people can also be able to change and make themselves better, learning from their mistakes. And this is why us against them and pitchfork mentality doesn't work, and it's counterproductive. You got to give people the opportunity to change, and that's how we hold them accountable. People see what you do, not just what you say. You can't just say it, you have to do it. And again, to Bueller's point, actions and words, I mean, they pair together, right? They overlap, especially if it's somebody on YouTube having a platform like this. I mean, all I'm doing is talking. Like, what are my actions other than talking? But the action follows the talk, right? The talk sets up the action. So my action, like a contradiction is an action. So if I said, guys, I don't want you name calling or blackballing anyone, but then in my next sentence I said, that dude's a clown. That dude's a clown. He's only in it for money. Like when I start spreading lies about someone, you're seeing my actions now. My words are doing different things, and my actions are proving me to be faking the funk. Because how can I say that one thing and then say the other? Then I'm doing something that's contradicting itself. I love it. Yes. Craig. Right on, Craig. Well, you know what? Look, man, and I encourage anyone here to bring up, this. I think this is funny too. I constantly get accused of being unable to hear other people's point of views. I constantly get accused of saying that if somebody disagrees with me, I immediately have to shut them down and argue. That's not the case. Because there was already people that brought countering points up in today's stream, and we found middle ground. And I think here's the honest truth, folks. it's not that I necessarily always disagree with people or that I'm argumentative in a disagreement. It's that I'm not ashamed to speak my mind and I'm not a yes man. People, especially on social media, it's like it's culturally ingrained in our response mechanisms to assume that people's responses are going to echo chamber us. And if they don't, that's when people get really offensive. So it's like when somebody comments and disagrees or says something that I disagree with, and I'm like, respectfully, I see what you're saying, but I disagree, and here's why. They immediately think that I'm like being defensive and arguing. No, I'm having a productive conversation. Because again, if we all agreed all the time, we would never get anywhere. So now I give you a respectful response and I give you context, come back and say, okay, Journo, thanks for responding. I see what you're saying, but this is why I may still disagree, right? And then we do that and we have a respectful conversation. More often than not, we come to find middle ground. And that's how we solve problems. Yeah, absolutely, Simon. Yep. People don't want to hear different points of views. Yet I get accused of being one that can't see. So I'm so sensitive. I can't see other people's point of views. You're just not used to somebody challenging your own personal biases. I don't mistake confidence with cockiness. Okay, I appreciate that play on words. I'm not going to highlight it though. I'm not going to highlight it. I disagree, and here's why. Absolutely. Brouhaha, true indeed. It does. Look, hey, Eddie, listen. Like, controversy, especially in comics, for the most part, it's not even controversy. It's silly, right? It's silly stuff. I mean, sometimes it can get serious, and that's how I felt why I initially came out so frustrated with all the C2E2 stuff because, and again, people said, oh, I'm just taking sides and sucking up with influencers, but I don't want toxicity. And when it gets toxic, it starts to become serious, but it should never be serious. Controversy is fun, though, especially in comics. It should be fun. I mean, we can get into it and we can get passionate, but at the end of the day, nobody should be throwing personal blows at anybody with comics ever. And if you're doing that, look, it's not a shame. If you have a YouTube channel, you shouldn't be ashamed of wanting clicks and views. You want to build your audience up. I do. And I like when controversial matters come up. But here's the difference between me and maybe some other people. I hold myself to a code of ethics. I'm not saying that I'm perfect or I'm always right. But I build my foundation on a positive culture and a code of ethics to where I'm going to talk about controversy. I want to build my audience and clicks, but I'll never sell out for clicks and views. There's a difference. I will never go against what I believe in for clicks and views, contrary to what certain people might say about me. Because here's the thing. I'm gonna be honest with you guys without trying to even revisit this because it ain't even worth my time. Over the last couple of days, I probably lost close to 80 subscribers. There are controversial issues that get brought up every other month where I end up losing a good chunk of subscribers. It sucks because I'm trying to build my subscribership. Not ashamed of that. But guess what? I wouldn't have it any other way. So if I was here trying to sell my soul or chase clout, I would never say anything that I knew would be so controversial that it would lose me subscribers. No, I don't care. And what it teaches me is that if those people want to unsubscribe from me when I'm not selling my soul, when I'm not conforming, it teaches me that I don't need them hanging around anyways. Because I don't know why they would be here on YouTube watching comic book stuff if they're going to unsubscribe just because you feel like you disagree with something that I'm saying or doing. And it goes back to my point, because there are a lot of people out there that want one thing. They're not coming here for the love of comics. They're coming here for validation and to be a part of an echo chamber. And it's that simple. And it's a human flaw, man. It's like, we got to evolve past that, man. It doesn't mean that people are inherently bad people. And I've been saying this. It just means we have really deep flaws, including myself. I'm not alone. Nobody's perfect. But what were we talking about? Giving people the opportunity to learn and grow, right? I hope you guys continue to give me the opportunity to learn and grow through whatever it may be in life. Whether it's how I present things on this channel, the things I talk about, how I interact with my audience and my viewership. So, yeah. Moonchild, no, I wasn't up that high, but yeah, I took a hit, man. I took a hit, but I'm not, like I said, that's freaking dust off my shoulders at this point. Yeah, Eddie, you can always buy subs. You can, and that, yeah, I will never do that. I mean, really, even when you buy subs, it doesn't really get your views up. Do you know that? Like, it's a waste of money. Yep. Absolutely. Period. 100%. 100%. Flaws are part of what make you you. Yep. Absolutely. And Lyric, I believe that you and I don't remember how we left off, but I believe you and I were in a discussion and kind of butting heads on some things. If I'm not mistaken, I try to remember. That's why I try to interact with all you guys the best that I can. I hope we were still cordial. There were a couple people there that I was engaging with that just started to go out the deep end. And I'm like, okay, I'm pulling out of this. This is not productive. Now it's counterproductive. Well, Eric, I do believe we were kind of, maybe we were bringing up different perspectives. So I appreciate you being here right now and listening and still being here, sharing your perspective. So that's huge, man. And look, that's not just something that you learn from. Oh, here's Journo. I'm educating Lyric, however you say your name. You being here and still trying to be a part of this conversation shows me something, and it gives me gratitude. So I appreciate that. There you go. I love this. I freaking love this, man. Now, seriously, Larry, you don't even know, like you're touching me on an emotional level right now. You are. I'm such a softie, but I don't even remember our exact conversation. But this, it's like, I don't know if you're a man or woman or whatever, but like, I want to be like, I love you, man. Like, or that's love. It's much love to see you say this, man. I hope this is the influence that we need to have right here, that everyone here has. It takes, big men ain't men that get in front of cameras and try to flex. I know we all could get defensive, and that's fine. Sometimes, again, maybe we all think that we're coming from a righteous place of intent. But at the end of the day, the real flex is humility. in admitting things like this. I still need to learn and grow. I appreciate that more than you know. Red Knight, I mean, ouch, but that goes to my saying. Fake friends tell you what you want to hear. Real friends tell you what you need to hear, right? Right on, man. Appreciate that. Wow. Yes, Simon. I know, right? Behaving like adults. It's rare. It's a rare thing, ain't it? No, Red Knight. I know what you meant. I know what you meant. Uh-oh. X11. Yeah, okay, let's see here. Figure drawing. I pointed out that you called yourself a victim and you lied saying that you didn't. Okay, well, okay. Let me take a step back, figure drawing. Let me say one thing. That video was showcasing the real victims, the people that were getting their fingers pointed at. But figure drawing, I'm going to be open up to your criticism right now. What were my exact words? What were my exact words? Do you have that? Do you have that? But to my knowledge, figure drawing, you were going way off and seemingly just wanting to argue and not find any middle ground. Again, I don't remember exactly, but I'm opening the door for you so we can continue this to find middle ground. And remember, figure drawing, we don't have to agree on everything, but moving the needle forward is finding middle ground, whether that middle ground is little or large, whatever the case may be. So if you know exactly what I said, I would love for you to leave that in the chat, and maybe it'll add context. Maybe it'll allow me to take a step back. But to be quite honest, if I remember, man, you were being really combative and not even hearing what I was saying at all. And that's where it almost becomes a waste of my time. That's awesome, Comic Noob. Thank you for sharing that. JLS, absolutely. Yeah, they do. 300. I mean, look, I like arguing with people, but not in the sense that people think. I like good argumentation and debate. That's what I like. But it's productive. And then you do it and you shake hands afterwards and it's all love. I mean, remember Brandon, amazing friend and supporter of the channel. Love that guy. I went in on Brandon when he said some things about Tupac. I'm like, Brandon, hell nah. And I went in. But it's all love. Oh, man. Gold Gauntlet. Thank you, man. Thank you, guys. You guys are awesome. I'm waiting to see if what was his name? Figure drawings has some context. I know he, she, they. I don't know. I don't want to assume, but if they were in a bit of an argument with me too, I felt it was a bit combative and counterproductive at some point. But I'm willing to keep the door open if there is some context needed to be added for sure. That's where I draw the line of officially unofficial. That's where anybody says anything bad about Tupac, I'm going against everything that I've ever said. I'm blocking you. I'm finding you. And it's over. No, I'm just kidding, obviously. I will argue with you, though. We'll go at it, though. Yes. Yeah, man. I went in. Brandon's awesome. He's a good sport. Yeah, somebody else brought that up to me too. You know what? It's so funny. When I did my stream the other night, somebody left a comment saying, Journo, you look unstable. I'm unsubscribing. I'm like, okay, I'm unstable. All right. That's funny, man. That's funny. Lewis, is Tupac my number one musician? Yeah, I mean, yeah. You know, with Tupac, it goes much deeper than the music, though, man. It's very personal because the man and his influence absolutely actually saved my life, and I'm not even joking. He saved my life. I got to work with the Outlaws. If you guys are familiar with the Outlaws, which was his groups of his family members and folks that he grew up with. Big shout out to the Outlaws. A lot of them have passed on now, unfortunately. But that was the biggest honor, being able to network with them, build with them, make music with them. That was just amazing. Yeah, I'll do that another time, Craig. I don't want to do that right now. That's not, we're kind of really getting off track of today's video. But is that timestamp clickable? I don't even think it's clickable for me, because it's not on the video. So I would have to go out of my screen and go find it. I don't know. You guys want me to go find that timestamp? That's a whole other conversation. But I'm open to it. But we are going to be wrapping up soon here. I don't know if anybody has. Look, man, right now, I mean, I addressed what we addressed today. We had an awesome guest on. Wes, again, thank him for coming on and giving his amazing knowledge today. But if anybody has anything that they want to get off their chest concerning anything that's happened over the past week, or anything at all, like, let it be known now. I'm here for a little bit longer. Let's talk about things. Oh, okay. Okay, figure drawing. Thank you. Okay, so I was saying, and I know exactly what I was talking about too. I knew it, and I've been a victim of this already. Well, okay. Figure drawing. Now I humble myself, and you're right. This is verbatim what I said. Thank you for taking the time to find that. But let me tell you what I was getting from your comments. And I don't remember everything you were saying. If you want to add the context of your argument here, you could do that as well. I don't remember what you were saying, but when you were saying that I was calling myself a victim, I felt that you meant my intention was to play victim. Like that video, I was sitting here playing victim. But to say I've been a victim of something is a bit different in my opinion. So what I was saying was that whole video, again, I wasn't necessarily standing up for any specific influencer. I was saying I knew that these influencers were going to get the pitchforks pulled out against them before we had any evidence, simply because they're the biggest ones out there. And I proceeded to say, I've been a victim of this too. So, painted pages. I wasn't sitting there crying, playing victim, but it is a fact that people have accused me of things that were false simply because of my success. That is a fact. And I was just using that as an example of what was happening when all this E2 stuff started, before any information was out. Nobody knew that Nerdy Girl was there. Nobody knew that Nerdy Girl got 75 copies. And a certain group of people were getting ripped on social media simply because of how big they are. That was my point. So again, figure drawings. I don't even remember what your argument against me was. That was the point I was making, though, and I stand by that point. Now that the truths came out, are there some people in that group that need to be held accountable for things? Absolutely. And I've had private conversations with certain ones that admitted to that. And I'm not going to talk about our conversations, But they admitted to the fact that this needs to be a learning lesson and there needs to be accountability. No, for sure, for sure. And again, see, this is great. This feels so good. Figure drawings. Thank you for even being here. Thank you for even acknowledging this. And thank you for saying this right here. Thank you. So don't just thank me. I thank you. Truly. Yeah, nothing below. We can argue, but we can still Luis spitting bars over there, man. Oh man, GGC, yeah, it's Cherokee metal. Thank you for acknowledging that for sure. Well, yeah, I mean, here's the thing with that whole situation. Like, I'm not going to be mad at people saying, I saw so-and-so do this. The problem is, do you know what you saw? And that's how we play the telephone game. Facts get distorted and whatever. So that's why we need to be very careful with our words. If you think you saw somebody doing something, reach out to them first. Have a conversation with them. Give them the opportunity to speak up for themselves and defend themselves. It's only right. Because then if you have an argument of concern, it strengthens your argument to have that context, to have done that first. Make sense, right? Look, man, as far as I know, I'll stand by my word. I've never lied about one thing on my channel. Now, may have I been wrong about certain things? Maybe. Are there learning lessons for me to have the way I communicate? Sure. I have been nothing but transparent and honest 100% with everything that I've ever done on my channel. And funny that certain people want to say I changed. You can go back to the only thing that changed about me on my channel is how comfortable I gotten being in front of the camera. Because when I first started this channel, it wasn't to run a business. It's because my kids wanted me to do a YouTube video showing all my comics. And being that I have a certain swag about me, I didn't know how to talk about comics. Do I talk a certain way? Do I not let out my own personality? I didn't know how to talk. That's the only thing that may have changed and evolved. And I got more comfortable in front of the camera. I'm the same person that I was when I had 5 subscribers to now having close to 12,000 subscribers. I will never change. My business has evolved. I sell comics now, but that's always been a goal of mine. I want to own an LCS store. The truth comes to light. And so many people use the words truth and fact way too loosely these days. We have hashtags now, and just because somebody pushed hashtags facts, they think that it validates them, that they think that it's factual. People forget that facts need to be something that are backed up by evidence. I can only stay true to myself. I can't control others. As much as I want other people to do good and be better, I'm learning. And it's hard for me to trust people. It's always been hard for me to trust people. I've been through it my whole life. I don't care. I'm sure, people look at me because of whatever reasons I won't even say, and they might judge me on that. Like, oh, you want to just talk. Because believe me, if I wanted to talk, I'd be talking. But I'm not 15 years old anymore catching cases. I'm a grown man with children who's educated myself, who has humility in my heart, who understands that beefing over comic books is the stupidest, ridiculous thing to ever do. Anybody who gets up here trying to beat over comic books has got their priorities wrong. But we can remain passionate. We can keep loving this hobby. And we can keep arguing and debating and disagreeing and coming out better people for it. And I hope you guys saw that today, man. We talked about a lot, and I really loved it. Over the last like half hour, we really had some countering viewpoints to come up in here and discuss things. That is amazing. Amazing. Trust is earned, absolutely. I know I give people the benefit of the doubt when it comes to trust, no matter how much I've been through in my life. But all I know I need to do is trust myself. And I got me. And I expect for you guys to do the same too. Hold yourselves accountable. Hold yourselves to that level of trust. Because that's the only thing that we can control. Somebody talking about too much transparency? Who's being too transparent? Oh, no. That's not too transparent. I'm glad that it came to light. The dark will come to light. The dark will come to light. It don't matter, man. The dark comes to light. Like, let's take a bad situation and learn from it. That's why I look at the situation. We can't take a bad situation and make it worse. Trying to be all behind your keyboard, acting like high school clique nonsense. It came to light, and we are making progress in this community for it. Officially, unofficials asking what's your favorite book from the last couple of weeks. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I haven't read one comic book in the last few weeks. I've been out of town mostly. The last few comic books I read were one of the more recent issues of Amazing Spider-Man. I don't know what I'm thinking about it. I'm glad we moved on from. Shout out to Two Brothers Comics who said that Beyond story arc in ASM was one of the worst story arcs ever in a Spider-Man title, and I agree. And I'm glad we're beyond that. Pun intended. I'm glad we're beyond, but I'm still not knowing what we're doing. And then I'm trying to keep up on my current Star Wars run, the main run. I'm on like issue 13, and it's so boring to me, but I'm still trying to push through it. I'm like, get to the point. This is garbage. I'm not reading much lately, guys. I've been so overwhelmed with life and everything. I hope there's some truth to that, X11. I do. Guys, it's been a good stream today. I think I'm going to just wrap up here. Well, you know what? Hey, I'll tell you what. Let's do one more thing. We still got some folks. You guys want me to open a box live? Let's open a box real quick, and then we'll end up on that. Where's my homie Red Deadly? Yes, Red Deadly. I think Red Deadly is making his first live appearance on the channel. We're gonna cut into this box, guys. We're gonna do this live. Hope you guys don't mind. I mean, we're talking comic books, so why not? I also want to do something else for you guys. Before I end the show, I'm going to bring up a newer song that I released of mine. I like sharing my music on my page. And over the last couple of days, I had a lot of people inquiring about my music. So I'm going to bring that up and like end the show with that song playing. You guys could check it out. And hey, I'd love to get your support if you want to go check out more of my music. So, Red Deadly, thank you so much.
Yes.
What this is my pre-order from mycomicshop.com. The reason why I buy from mycomicshop.com is because I do their pre-orders, their previews orders, where you get 35% off cover price. You order 3 months in advance. I will say I've cut back a lot. I haven't been buying back issues. I'm very minimal. This is a month's worth of comics. I'm cut back a lot. The only thing I've been really focusing my spending on is buying collections for my business, because I need to sell and make money and pay bills. That's what I've been focusing on, but we'll see what we have here. I am always collecting Wonder Woman. Here's 790, the cardstock variant. It's an interesting cover. It is a nice discount, man. And say what you want, like you can't beat it. I mean, if you have local LCSs, like obviously I support my LCSs in different ways. I mean, but 35% off, man. $5 flat rate shipping. All right. Beautiful Predator #1 variant, the Inyuk Lee variant. That is dope. Look at that. Yes. Oh, man. I could see that with the EGS custom label and their new proprietary slabs. Look at that. Woo! I would want just maybe a clean, I would do like a clean kind of like stone, like this has a stone texture. I would do like a clean stone texture label, and just that with like a black, maybe a black number box with a white gray. That would be sick. That would be sick. This is for my son, Power Rangers 22. He reads Power Ranger stuff. Is this a connecting cover variant? I do believe it's one of the variants. I get all my Wonder Woman stuff, including Nubia. Here's Nubia, Queen of the Amazons, number 3 of 4. I haven't started reading. I am so behind on my Wonder Woman stuff. Yeah, that Predator cover is nice. All right. Got a couple copies of first appearance of Hawkeye. Tales of Suspense 57. I love the facsimile copies. I love them. Oh, man. This is a nice cover. We got Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. The Halcyon Legacy, number 5. That's dope. I love the border. Kind of a vintage border type look. Spider-Man 2099. I've been buying these ones. This is a variant for Exodus, number 5. And I do plan on reading these, but I like that they were cool because they were the throwback to the, issue number 1, 2099s. I always pick up my sponsors, 332. Sick. Batman number 126. Look at that. This is the throwback, obviously cover homage to Todd McFarlane 316 Amazing Spider-Man. Oh, man, I should have got multiple copies of this. I am regretting not doing that. That is dope. Sick. Sorry, trying to get the glare off. That's dope. Nice between that and Predator. Oh, yes. I'm not familiar with this artist. Zerdy? DC versus Vampires, number 8 cardstock variant. How about that? Wow. That is beautiful. Look at that. I will buy variants all day long if they're, cover price or 35% off. That's a beauty. All right, next up, Demon Wars #1. Momoko. Again, I have mad respect for Momoko and her unique style. Sometimes I'm like, but sometimes she just kills it. This is a solid one. Of course, we got Edge of Spider-Verse #1. Cover A. Man, I only got one copy of this too. I should have got more. Harley Quinn #18. Homage of one of the greatest books ever printed. Look at that. I love how they even did the, the wearing of the cover. That is dope. That is freaking amazing. Look at that. And we got, whoa, wait a minute. Oh, yep, Power Rangers. And now Mighty Morphin #22 for my son. And yep, connecting covers. We got another, wow. Oh, man. Who is this? Is this Josh Middleton? Yep. This is a Middleton cover. Poison Ivy #3. I did pick up 2 copies of this. Maybe I'll sell one of those. Love Josh Middleton, man. He's always doing his thing. Always. So you guys can kind of see maybe the theme. A few really beautiful variant covers. I love getting the facsimiles. I get my Spawn, I get my Spidey stuff, and I get my Wonder Woman stuff. That's basically what I'm doing right now. Oh, and my Star Wars stuff. Of course, I'm still getting the Star Wars stuff. But that's what I get. That's what I've limited it down to for my monthly orders. So guys, it's been awesome. It's been a good stream. I appreciate you guys being here today as always. I don't hide behind the fact that this is a business, but I'm always transparent with the fact that a business is only successful with the foundation that he builds that business on. And I laid my foundation of this business on the backs of what it means to be honest, transparent, and to be about building something that's bigger than me. And I don't say that just to sell it. I'm not selling you all a pitch, because that's easy to do. So, right. Comic Noob. I appreciate you guys. I do want to bring in, I'm going to bring up my, my music page real quick. And I do want to leave you guys on a song that I recently released. It's a little bit older, but I recently released it. And again, if you guys want to check out my music, I'd be greatly appreciative if you did. It's always going to be a part of me. James, I think there's going to be a conversation needing to be had that goes beyond this one issue. Yeah, I mean, we'll see, though. We'll see how that plays out. But I appreciate you guys so much. I'm about to bring this in. We got to remove this. And hold on 1 second. 1 second. All right. We are going to share a tab. Here we go. Share audio. All right, guys. Again, I'm going to step out. I'm going to let this song play. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for the conversations. To the couple of you that came in with those opposing viewpoints and we talked it up, man. Again, much love. I think that was the highlight of this stream today. you guys being here and us handling that means more than anything to me. And I want to highlight that one more time. But with that being said, I'm pulling myself out and take a listen. Till next time, guys.
Let's do it. You wanna know how I really feel? You don't wanna know how I really feel. Dirty words out my mouth cause the world's cursed. We entered from the womb and exited in that black hearse. I scribble ink on paper like catering blood on payments. Paint the picture of a murder while the melody gives cadence. Ain't nothing pretty about lies, so smoke the dope to get high. Some hustles for the paper so they sell the dope to get by. Mothers watching kids die, smelling the smoke of the bullet as the trigger pulls. Quick they hit them, now it's goodbye. Cops come around the block just to lock another up. Beat them down, scuff them up, throw them in the car with cuffs. Now they triggered for the system, caught up in a jail cell. Every second is an hour in this living hell. See, it's dark and dismal, just give me a pistol to put a bullet in my brain, but I think it's wishful. The air is stale, the bars are cold. It's like no matter where you are, this world will steal your soul. In these streets, in this cell, it's like I'd rather die cause we living in hell. Whether in these streets or in the cells, it's like I'd rather die cause we living in hell. Cause we living in hell. It's like I'd rather die cause we living in hell. Whether in these streets or in the cell, it's like I'd rather die cause we living in hell. Every day is for survival, gotta stay up on the mission. While these pimps is out pimping, some be cooking in the kitchen. And the fiends sticking needles in their veins just for a fixing. And another young boys on the mailbox missing. Little Tina didn't listen that she's out turning tricks. And little Tommy started banging, got shot up this first night. And it's like we either singing death or we singing a jail cell. Never seeing the sun, what the future holds I can't tell. Born with a death wish, ready when I exit. This world has left me hopeless, dead inside of breathless. I keep on hustling, juggling all this madness. The casket's passing, but I'm over the sadness. The storm is coming, so we keep on running. Gypsy snakes that you get yourself, we keep on gunning. It's amazing I survived past 25. There ain't no hope for the future, so why do I stay alive? In these streets, in this cell, it's like I'd rather die cause we living in hell. Whether in these streets or in the cells, it's like I'd rather die cause we living in hell. Cause we living in hell. It's like I'd rather die cause we living in hell. Whether in these streets or in the cells, it's like I'd rather die cause we living in hell. Babies dying every day. Little kids dying every day. Little girls dying every day. Stray bullets coming your way. You better watch out, man. No matter where you at. Better wake up to it. Or you might be next.
In the cell, it's like God, we living for. We get locked every day. Streets in the cell, it's like a right job, cause we living in hell. It's like I'd rather die cause we living in hell. In the streets in the cell,
Hey yo, give me that
it's like
piece.
I'd rather die cause we living in hell.